to In the Field, the Helmets to Hardhats interview series where we take you behind the scenes and into the heart of what makes our mission possible, our people. In each episode, we sit down with members of the H2H team to hear their stories, insights, and real-life impact of connecting veterans, transitioning service members, and reservists with careers in the skilled trades. Whether they're working with contractors, mentoring candidates, or building partnerships across the country, our staff are in the field every day making a difference. And this is your chance to hear directly from them. Today we have with us Martin Helms, Executive Director of Helmets to Hardhats. Hey Martin, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yay, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm so excited to be able to share with our viewers your journey. You are like a true testament to the power of H2H. So this is a very, very exciting episode. So yeah, no, thanks again so much for being here. Guys, I'm going to give you some background into Martin's journey, just through his bio for now, and then he's going to elaborate more throughout the interview. Martin Helms is the executive director of Helmets to Hardhats. His union career started as an H2H veteran apprentice with the IBEW, where he became an inside journeyman and eventually the training director. As a successful Helmets to Hardhats participant since 2005, Mr. Helms has a passion for the program's mission and a personal understanding of the career pathways that H2H provides. With years of joint labor management apprenticeship leadership and a 24-year military career as an Army engineer warrant officer in the National Guard, he brings the program's strong training, management, military, and recruitment experience. He also genuinely appreciates the unique challenges those transitioning from military to civilian careers face. Mr. Helms is extremely family-oriented and brings that compassion to the program. His experience and unique perspective as a Helmets to Hardhats success story will continue strengthening the program as he applies daily to pay it forward. That's a really impressive bio, Martin. Do you want to kind
Yeah,
of
that's
share a little bit more about your journey?
yeah. So one thing I can say about a journey is sometimes you just don't know what the doors of possibility are going to open, or opportunity, I should say, when you get into something. And that all kind of started for me in 1999 when I joined the military. And the reason I joined the military, to be straight and honest, was they paid for the college. And my parents could not afford to send they're number 5 of 6 kids to college, and whatnot. So we didn't have that money, and I had to figure out a pathway. And unfortunately, at that time, a lot of the schools were college, 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 or you'll be nothing. So um, at that same time, I was actually working for a non-union electrical contractor through high school. And then I continued that after I got back from my military training. So in '99, I joined the military for the sole purpose to help me pay for college, to get a college degree. I was patriotic. My dad served. My grandfather served in World War II. My father served right up to about the Vietnam War. So he's a little older, so he got out before that really kicked off. There was always a sense of patriot and the military service and honor and duty and country. So I was like, I'm going to continue that on. So I joined the military. Ironically, this was between my junior and senior year of high school. Most juniors are having a good time right before their senior year. I decided to go do push-ups instead, and get yelled at Fort Knox. So I did that throughout my summer, and I got back. I literally left the day after my junior year, and I got back the day before my senior year started of high school. So I had literally no summer. So anyway, I did that, completed my senior year of school, went on to do what we call AIT, Advanced Individual Training, and that's your specialty. That's your specialty MOS training. I did that, got home in February of 2001, and then I picked up my non-union electrical career because I really, at that point, I was kind of going back in career fields, but I really liked the electrical industry. I liked it because I felt I liked physical labor. I'm a farm kid, kind of. Growing up, I worked on a farm, also in addition to electrical work through high school. And then I really just like it because it's brains and bronze, I call it. You got to use your brain, you have to learn, and the physical labor part is very satisfying, and because of your accomplishments every day. So I did that, and then September 11th happened, and that was just a game changer and all that stuff. And what that led into was me being activated shortly after that for nearly 2 years of a deployment, um, which was the longest 2 years of my life, to be honest with you. I was very frustrated at this time because you basically, and this is every service member, and this is what they can talk about, that transition period. You put your whole life on hold for the duty of this country. So your personal relationships, your personal goals, all that stuff kind of gets set to the side when you go to war. So you go do that, and did that. So I came home in January 2005, and I was married at this time, and I had one child. Um, and I made my mind up that I wanted to pursue a professional electrical career. Um, and I kind of already said, hey, I'm going to go back to college. I kind of researched it already. During the same time, in a post debrief off of that briefing, there was this program that came to us on a cornfield armory in the middle. I'm from Ohio, and it's literally in the middle of nowhere. And they said, "Hey, there's this program called Helms to Hardhats. Um, leads you to registered apprenticeship in the construction fields." And an electrician obviously spoke to my ears. I don't remember any of the other trades because that was the only one I wanted to remember. So yeah, and I pursued it. I went to the website, I filled out a profile, and I did a search, and it led me to my local union, IBW 306, right here in Akron. And uh, I applied, I interviewed. It took a little bit of time, but eventually I did get a call back, being accepted into the apprenticeship, in which I started what I call my professional electrical career in 2006, the summer of 2006, to be honest with you, is when I really started. And then I completed that in 2010. I'm going to back up a little bit because at the same time here, I'm still continuing my military career. And so I'm still doing, came home from deployment, had a couple little smaller activations while I was going through the apprenticeship. But um, what was really unique about this is as my civilian professional electrical career was taken off, I my military career was heading in that same direction. I was working in the construction field in the military as well.
Mm,
I was an interior electrician, and then it became essentially we'll call it like a job site foreman. And then I graduated the apprenticeship in 2010, and then I just felt myself with a full scope of knowledge, not only from what I gained in the apprenticeship, on the job training that I gained. I also, at this time, I was kind of wrapping up my college degree as well. And I had all these skills and this training and real world aptitude, I would say, that I just wanted to do more for the military. And I decided in 2012 that I was going to go warrant officer, in which many people don't know that rank. There's only 2% of the U.S. Army that holds that rank, that stuff. So a warrant officer is a subject matter expert in their field, and there's many fields that they can be in. Mine was in construction. I was a construction engineer warrant officer, in which to submit your application, you got to have a lot of prerequisites, and I qualified for all the prerequisites submitted, and I did that. So it took me about 2 years to complete that journey, military journey, between working, civilian side and completing the military educational gates and requirements. But that set me up. And I really felt at that point in my life that, I was talking about those doors and opportunities that opened up. So you could see that, just being from a high school kid that wanted to help a local union or a local electrical contractor to join the military to, going on those deployments and feeling like it was a waste of time. And then H2H crossed my path, and then my professional electrical career. There was a lot of stepping stones that led me to that point in my life. And then now I had this wealth of knowledge that I was able to influence a lot of the construction projects that I would be involved in the military community in future deployments and local missions as well, to give back to the military community from my IBW career. And I'm very proud of that, because a lot of people would see me execute projects, plan in or be part of, and they would be like, "Where did you learn to do that at?"
mm,
I remember one story. I was in Iraq, and we were completing or we were doing a build out project, and we had a one-star Marine general come up to us, and he was a crusty guy. I mean, just crusty. And I was a young CW warrant officer, and he just walked the job site and didn't say much. And he looked
mm,
around, and then at one point, he looked at me and he just smiled. He said, "How in the world do you guys know how to do this?" And it was a pretty big two-story build out. And, it was just one of those moments you remember that, those skills and what you brought and the lead, right? Because you had a whole crew of
mhm,
people, and not everyone had that vast knowledge, but all of them had great work ethic. And it was cool to
mhm,
pull that all together. But that was a memorable moment. But the takeaway from that is both sides of my military my civilian and my military career combined and
Mhm.
collaborated to excel me. So anyway, I got home from the latest deployment in 2016, and I decided I wanted to do more. So I wanted to
Mhm.
be an instructor at my local JTC, and about the same time the current training director was getting ready to retire within a year or so, and they were looking for a succession plan, and they were going to hire an assistant training director to kind of shadow him, and then
Mhm.
over that period, they were going to transition into the training director. And that I applied, got the position in 2000 January 17, and then did that for almost 5 years, and then another door opened, and it was the executive director for H2H, and again, it felt like the right thing to do at the time. Applied and eventually took that position here at H2H and been here since. And then I just recently retired from the military last summer after 24 years of service and CW3. Um, yeah, it's been a great journey and it hasn't stopped. It's just, you just, again, you always try to set yourself up for that next door, and you just don't know when that door is going to open or what that's going to be, but try to do everything you can to be in the ready.
Mhm. No, that's an amazing journey and an amazing story, and I think the thing that really stands out to me is a couple of things. The first thing being the level of discipline that you had at such a young age. From what I know about you, like, this doesn't surprise me at all when you said you were doing push-ups. It was like the summer in high school, and I'm just like, "Yeah, that's Martin." Yeah, just the level of discipline that you had, and then also just kind of hearing your journey and how each step led to the next one, it just seems to me like you were absolutely meant to be in the position that you're in based upon just like every single piece coming together. And I'm sure like and maybe you can elaborate a bit on this. When you were in the midst of it all, did you have like a clear vision of like where you wanted it to go, or you kind of just followed like, okay, I like doing this. Like, I'm going to go ahead and continue forward here. Or, just kind of give me an idea of, how each step kind of manifested.
Yeah, the first part of your thing, there's been a lot of divine intervention. I tell everybody in my life, like, I feel like a lot of stuff, it's ironic that you just look back and you're like, wow, that just makes sense now. You
Mm-hmm.
just don't really
Mm-hmm.
know, but there's definitely some divine intervention going there and steering this ship called life. So uh the I never had a goal. Like I always have goals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that was education goals. Like I wanted to get
Mm-hmm.
this cert, or I wanted to get this degree, or I wanted to be at this point in my military, whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
always had those, I guess, timelines and goals and set, but I never had a specific saying I wanted to be a training director of a JTC. None of my aspirations were that specific, but I can tell you everything that I did I wanted to do it to the best of my ability, and I,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
just clock in and clock out.
Right.
I've never been that type, to make sure the check cashes on Thursday and clock in and clock out and leave. And I've always owned whatever I was doing to the best of my ability and try to learn. Every day there's something to learn or something to engage in. Um, and I guess that's probably the secret to my soup, I guess, I would say is that, you know, try to learn and absorb as much as you can. And if you don't know, you should probably maybe try to find out or at least lean on someone that knows to better educate yourself. So I think that's kind of the secret soup. And the saying I also get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah.
because I think if you can, kind of have that little bit of anxiety, not over much, just a little
Yeah.
to keep
Yeah.
your interest going, it's healthy and it gets you ready for that too. To be uncomfortable. Do those push-ups when you really don't want to do those push-ups and
No, I
you get
agree.
it. Yeah, so it's that. Yeah, there's many I look back and I say to my wife, I don't know how I did what I did in my 20s a lot of times.
I don't know how you
And
did either.
and then I look back, but it's all been good and to be honest, I feel like I still have way more to give.
No, I'm sure that you do, and it sounds to me like it's just very much a growth mindset. I think that,
Mhm.
um Yes, being comfortable. I would say I would say that anxiety probably comes a bit more from uncertainty than anything else, and being comfortable kind of pushing yourself a little bit further each time, and just kind of actualizing how much more you can be when you do that. I think it's very gratifying when you get on the other side of that, and I think, as you go through that, you recognize that that journey never really stops. I think the comfortability with that anxiety just gets a little less daunting each time. But, the bigger the hurdle, the more of that's going to be present. But it sounds to me like you have a good way of mitigating that level of kind of like
Yeah,
transition, so to speak.
100%. And there,
Yeah,
I think that started at a young age before I even joined the military, but the military does a really good job of emphasizing that. They make you feel uncomfortable for a reason, right? You're not going to be comfortable all the time you're in the military, and you got to kind of adapt and overcome, right? You got to understand the
right.
situation. And I think that's a key attribute to military people is they get into situations and they try to figure it out. They've been in that position of different situations of being uncomfortable and how can we get the mission done, right? What do we got to
Hmm.
do? And
Hmm.
check our
Hmm.
surroundings and check what we got to do. So yeah, to your
Yeah.
point, yeah, it's an attribute to be honest if you can learn how to capitalize on it.
Absolutely, and I'd say I'd take it a step further and say being able to know you can trust yourself and your teammates, I think that's major key as well, and I think that trait and those skills carry over so well into the construction industry, especially as like the unionized construction trades. I
Hmm.
think that is just those are tremendous attributes to have in that space. So yeah, again, like I said, amazing journey. I really am getting like all of this. Like I didn't like I know you, but I didn't know all of this.
There's so much
No,
more too. I'm keeping it short. So
yeah, no,
yeah,
no, feel free, but no, this is fantastic, and again, it just seems very kismet to me that, you were meant to be where you are now, and that all the little steps make sense now, so that's just really cool to bear witness to, so thank you for sharing that.
no worries.
Uh,
Thank you.
okay, we're gonna go into the next question, which is, give me some more insight into what, a warrant officer does, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
S
So I was in the engineer branch of the Army. So the engineer branch is very broad when it comes to the military. So that can consist of uh, combat engineers, which those are a lot of them are on the front lines, doing explosives, demo, clearing, a lot of activities that they could be doing. And then there's this other sector of what we call vertical and horizontal engineering, which is really equivalent to what the civilian is in construction. So horizontal construction is anything that does with civil, so dirt work, moving dirt, moving any of that stuff. So that you can think of that, all your civil work falls under horizontal, heavy equipment operation, any of that stuff. And then you got your vertical construction, which that consists of the building, right? The structure
Okay,
going up. And that's basically those two sectors is what I was responsible for as a warrant officer. So, from the time that someone uh, says, "Hey, I want to do X project," from idea on napkin to the development, the design, the soil testing, to the actual project execution to make sure it's meeting quality standards. It's meeting the building standards not only for the military, well, in the military standards and some civilian standards, depending on the guidelines and where it's being built. Uh, so all that stuff. So it's that's what I did, and it's very broad. It's a very tough field because in the civilian sector, if you're an engineer, you focus on one niche of engineering, right? You're either a civil engineer, and even in the civil engineer, are you, uh, um, do you do earth, soils and testing and design, or do you do structural engineering? So there's many types of engineering fields, and in the civilian world, you focus on that one entity. And the military, they put so many hats on you, and you
mm,
gotta know a lot of information and you got to know where to reference a lot of information. You got to have a
mm,
deep attribute to do research and figure it
mm,
out. And if you're not going to know all the answers, but you're the kind of that go-to person to
mhm,
find out the answer and then come back to the
mm,
command staff or the design team, whatever it is, to get that to a level of execution. There's always reach back resources and all that stuff. But yeah, that's what I did. Electrical design work to mechanical plumbing, all that design work, structural, vertical, so you're talking carpentry, cement work, all that stuff followed under the realm of what I would have to execute, just depending on what project and what resources you had available to get it done.
That's awesome, that's awesome. So
Yeah,
it's really just like the full gambit of
100%.
various construction. Because obviously, you're sharing your journey with IBEW. In my mind, I'm thinking, "Okay, this is gonna be primarily like he's gonna be expressing more like primarily electrical work," but now you're telling me that you had all these different aspects to it with carpentry and cement work, and it's just yeah, that's unbelievable. And so I'm assuming you have an affinity for research because it sounds to me like you would have to do a lot of like,
Yeah.
going to figure things
I,
out. Yeah.
yeah, I would say I have an ADHD when it comes to stuff like that, to be honest, because
Oh,
you start researching stuff and it just one rabbit hole leads to the next, and
yeah.
you pull it all together and you're using kind of a collective wisdom and come to the best scenario. If it's not quite spelled out, most of the time you can figure stuff out with the right resources, but it's a lot of work. And a warrant officer, there's not, there, as I mentioned earlier, there's only 2% of us. And a lot of times you get attached. Um, you're not usually a group. So you're usually with a company, a battalion, and you're kind of the one person in the room that the commander or this command support team is really rely on to guide them in the right direction and give them the guidance or recommendations that you would do for a project or scenario, whatever it is. And you got to have a very strong will, because I think I've said no more than yes a lot of times in those meetings, because people come up with some ideas and then, you know, whatever the consideration, either a timeline, life
Mhm.
safety measure that, you can't cross because it would jeopardize the service members, whatever. A lot of times you're that consultant in the room that says, "Hey guys, time out. Um, you know, I don't think that's a good idea, and this is why." Or you say, "Hey, let's pause here for a minute. Let me research something. Let me get back to you, but I don't have a good feeling about this." But you always come back with a plan, right? It's just like, nope, can't do it and walk away, right? That doesn't do the team any good. It's, hey, I don't think this is it, and let me go figure out why, and then come back with options A, B, and C that we can proceed forward with the mission, because that's kind of the scope of the job. So yeah, it's a very honored position. There's a lot of people who have a lot of respect for that position because they know what they kind of go through, and two, they're just that reliable resource to the command, because the commander doesn't know anything, and he needs his close friends to guide him to his success, or her success, could be a female too. So yeah, it's a good, it's one of the best positions in the Army, in my opinion. I'm glad I did it. I didn't say this, but the main reason I did it is, when you are in the military and you have a long tenure, you go up in rank. And a lot of times when you go up in that rank, you lose a little bit of that day to day that you love. So for instance, if you're an officer, you start off, you're really typically with the troops day in and day out, you're training with them. But as you go up, you become more of this management role and oversight,
Mhm.
and you're doing more administrative work and planning and stuff, and you're not so much in the weeds with the troops and training anymore. Same with the enlisted side, you're overseeing a lot of that and you can still be involved in that, but you're not as close as you once were. uh, as a warrant officer, for me, I loved construction. I love building stuff, and I felt like I really had a good, obviously, a foundation, and I always wanted to stay in that. I was worried that the way my military career was progressing, that I was going to get away more, I was gonna be more accounting beans and bullets versus construction,
Mhm.
and I didn't want
Mhm.
that. So, that's a main reason why I went warrant officer as well, is I just wanted to stay in my field that I enjoyed.
Yeah, and I think as I'm listening, 2 things. The first thing, I think that this is your journey is also a testament to staying true to yourself and honoring the things that you really enjoy and I say really staying authentic to who you are as a person. Like, this is obviously very much the framework of, like, what moves you,
Mhm.
Like, this is what you enjoy doing. You like working with your hands. You like working, in a team environment. Like, these are things that I think are part of like the makeup of who you are. And I think that like as I'm listening, I'm also hearing how essential it is for people to honor that. So let's say for instance someone is getting to the point where they're trying to transition from the military and they don't know what they're going to do next. I love hearing these types of stories, and I'm sure our viewers will too, because it's really a testament to like, you know what? No, this is a valid path. Like this is something that moves me. This is something that feels good to me. This is what I like to do. And you're, you know, an example of someone that's done it. So I think that that's just, you know, it's very inspiring. And so yeah, kudos to you.
Yeah.
And and then my second question is, that had to have been a lot of pressure. Like, did you ever feel like you were under a lot of pressure? Because
You
that
know,
it would feel pressure to me.
I mentioned earlier, you get comfortable being uncomfortable, and I kind of
Mhm.
always kept that saying, and if not me, then who was the two sayings I would
Mm.
repeat often in my
Mm,
head.
mhm.
And you know that I think over time, there was definitely times that you get nervous and you're that, but it's one of those things. The more you do it, and the more experience you have, and the more you learn about people and their culture and their culture of leadership, their styles, and you experience different styles of leadership. Like the more experience, I guess, overall that you get, the better you are. And to be honest, there is not really much anymore that gets me nervous, to be honest. And it's kind of crazy because I could remember I was that same person that took speech class in college and I was afraid to speak to 10 people in the room. And now that's nothing. I could do, that's nothing. And to back brief um a general, right? Have a meeting with a general, and this is a very high ranking individual and smart and is well rounded and knows it. When you do that after a time, you get accustomed to it. You get used to it. You understand where the professionalism level is, and you know what you have to walk into that room and be ready for, um, and how to articulate it. And at the end of the day, if something is you're unaware of or you get those questions, you just don't know. And just to be honest, don't um bullshit,
Yeah.
just say you don't know and follow up and get back to them on what you discover. And that's the best. So yeah, I don't get rattled much anymore. Not nearly at one time, but all that experience has paid off now.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it. Yeah, I definitely and I agree with having humility to say like not knowing something is how you learn and how you grow, and it builds character. So yeah, definitely being comfortable with that. I completely agree. Okay, so the next question's going to be, what was your best moment in uniform?
Man, I have a lot. A lot. The best moment in uniform. The day man, it's a tough one.
Well,
There's
we
just been
take a
several.
second.
Yeah, there's just been several pivotal points, and to put them in a chronological order, at best to least, is hard. There's in categories too. What is the best moment with people, right? Or the best moment of accomplishments? You know, I would say one of the best academic moments in the military for me is when I graduated warrant officer um, candidate school and warrant officer basic courses, and that's where you go. It's a 6-month long school of just a lot of information being crammed at you and tested. I graduated top of the class, and
Oh, that's amazing.
that was not easy. A lot of it, to be honest with you, what really, really, really helped me in that course is probably about half of it was electrical. It seems to be the field struggle, and I did very, very well at it. And some other stuff that feeds into that, I was very good at that time. And I just again discipline and focus. That was probably one of the highest moments. Coming home, to be honest, that's probably the one. You get so locked in, but when you leave your family for, almost a year, at times, and then you come home and you see them again and you're getting back in society and whatever in that transition, that's definitely the first time you get to lay eyes on your family after not seeing them, is awesome. And I would say that would probably be priorities, getting home and seeing them. And then, the academics behind that.
Yeah, no, absolutely,
And mission
absolutely.
accomplishments, there's been so many mission accomplishments with the teams, that's been third, but yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. I think you've had a lot of highs, so it's hard to categorize just one. But
Yeah.
I could definitely see being able to come home to your family after deployment like that. It's probably just even more, even a deeper gratitude just to be near them than,
Yeah. It's
if
it's
you were
the
by them every day.
it's the closure to the mission, to be honest with you. Like
Yeah.
there's a degression period, when you come off mission that you gotta demobilize per se. But the stamp on the envelope is, when you get eyes on your family and you're dismissed, right? You're done, and you go spend the time that you missed, so much time that you missed with them and catch up, especially when you have kids.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. How are the military and the trades alike, and why would service members excel in the trades?
Yeah, there is a lot of common ground between the military and how the union trades work, and I'm gonna call out a few of those scenarios. One, the military is the training environment of the military. A lot of it's on the job training. You get a little bit of classroom work, but then you got to see, can you do the task, right? So it's real world execution, and it's a walk, crawl, run style in the military a lot of times. And that's no different than the trades. I think it's like almost 85, 90% of the training in the trades is in the field. 10%, you can name that. Typical some apprenticeships change, but in the some of the electrical apprenticeships, it's 8,000 hours on the job training. There's 2,000 working hours in a year. So that's 4 years of on the job training, but 800 hours in the classroom. So there's a 10%, difference there. So just like the military, a lot of the training's in the field. Uh, a lot of it is done by a senior leader of some sort. So in the military, someone with more experience and time, usually higher ranking, is next to you, and they're teaching you how to do the job. They're coaching you through that. Well, that's no different than in the trades. As you're an apprentice, you have a journeyman, a foreman, or a group of people that are overseeing you, that are mentoring you, that are showing you those tricks of the trades and how to do stuff and what's what, and really training you in real world to do that. Another thing is the pay structure. In the military, they're paying you while you're learning as well, right? You don't know everything. They're not paying you. They're not asking you to, day one that you're going to get paid X salary because you know X. You don't know anything. No different than apprenticeship. You show up on day one, you really don't know anything. So again, as you're going through that, your pay structure increases. No different than apprenticeship. The pay structure increases as you gain
Mhm.
the technical instruction and the on-the-job training hours. Um, Rank structure, we can talk about that. In the military, we have officers and we have the enlisted. So you can make that equivalent to the civilian side as the officers being equivalent to management. Those are your your business owners, your engineers, your operational staff that are doing all the planning and getting ready for the project. And then you have the enlisted. The enlisted is the backbone of the military. They're the ones that execute the project. That's equivalent to the labor. Uh, and they're the ones getting the job done in the field, in the weeds. And that's there's a lot of correlation there of how the military operates. Talk about the benefit structure. Um, when you're in uniform, you don't think about your medical care. You don't think about your health insurance. That's all taken care of through TRICARE, and really figured out with congressional. And these are the benefits you're going to get. Same with retirement. Basically, the military is somewhat like a defined benefit. That's happening behind the scenes. You just got to show up and do your job. Well, no different than the trades. That is all figured out through the collective bargain agreement. That the retirement plan is X, and there's trustees that look over that that are appointed. The healthcare, same deal. There's trustees that oversee that for you. So all you have to do is show up and do an honest day's work in the military, and you're gaining credits towards those two fringe benefits. So there's so many similarities that mesh up with way the military operates and how the trades operate. That I think a lot of people just don't see that correlation. I love articulating about that all the time because once you find that common ground, you're like, wait a minute. And the best one yet is the camaraderie, the brother and
Mhm.
sisterhood that exists within the trades. I've got friends and friends upon friends within the trades, and what we would be equivalent to the military as battle buddies that, they're looking out for your best interests. They're there if you need them, well beyond the 8 hour day. And that's the thing about the unions is it's more than just the 8 hour day. How's your family doing? The
True.
extracurricular activities that you can do, and all that stuff. So a lot of common ground between the two. that I think once people understand how the dots are connected, that they would definitely grow a liking to it.
So, Martin, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you sharing your journey. It's quite an impressive one. Again, I can't stress enough. It just seems so aligned that you were meant to be the executive director of Helms to Hardhats. Like, I can't stress that enough. So it was just, I really enjoyed hearing your journey today. Um, so what I normally do is I have a wrap up question that I ask everyone that comes on the show. And that question is, what are
I'm
the
nervous.
three
What's this
most
question?
so it's
I'm
not
like,
anything crazy, like, what's your
I'm not
social
usually
security
nervous. I'm
number?
like, wait a minute, what's this gonna be? So
No, no, it's, what's, your 3 favorite aspects of the
three aspects of the work currently or post, pre, or
your
right
3
now.
current favorite aspects of the work that you do?
Um, One for me, it's paying it forward. That's kind of where
Mhm,
I'm at right now. When I got into the trades, I was at a desperate moment. Kind of isn't the right word. My wife would slap me right now. We were at a desperate moment. Um,
hmm,
we did not have enough money.
mm,
We had a young child at the time, and I was we were paying for our own health care at the time. I wasn't making nothing for money, going to school, and really just burning the candle at both ends. And I
mm,
haven't forgot about that moment. And I know, and that's kind of where I'm so passionate now of how do we connect to that same type of service member now that's in that desperate moment of their time, and they're just looking for that door of opportunity, right? Someone to expose the trades to them. And I feel like that's our number one. That is our mission, right? To show them that there
mm,
is this opportunity that they
mhm,
don't have to, spend a lot of money, that they can earn money right away and have good health care and retirement, and really that opportunity to the middle class, uh, as long as they have the desire to show up and work and put the effort in. And so that's the number one attribute is connecting those service members. I like getting out and doing the outreach, and when I can see that young service member in there and have an engaging conversation, and their eyes light up and they have no
mhm,
clue. Um, the second part is really getting out and educating our people about it. That is when I mean our people, the union people, about the program,
mm,
how it works, and some of the advancements that we've done in the last couple of years to really grow our market of career seekers and be more engaging with what we have to work with. And we've done an excellent job here at the team uh,
mhm,
for that. And then finally, is probably just the team. We have some really excellent, talented people on this staff. We're not a crazy big staff to cover a huge mission across this nation to connect transition and service members to these opportunities within the construction, union trades and industry. So, yeah, those would be the three things I think would wrap it up. Is
mhm.
all of it's important, but by hands down, the number one is paying it forward, connecting to that person that just is desperate for the opportunity to cross paths with. No different than how it crossed my path in the middle of a cornfield armory. That's no joke.
Hey,
That 5-minute discussion changed the rest of my life.
if it's meant for you, it's gonna find you one way or another, and I think that's your living proof.
Yep. So, all
Yeah,
right.
no, thank you so much.
No, this was awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.